Hello, slimy fertilers. I've not been very well this week, so, I've just been feeling a bit rough and stuff. Fucking hell. Yeah, so, the more cerebral stuff has had to fall by the wayside, so, for today's video, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go for some low-hanging fruit again.
I'm sure you've heard this phrase before.
Jesus Christ, boss, you don't get much more low-hanging than him.
Yes, so everyone's favourite crack-addled lolcow transtrender, Justin Riley Dennis, has decided to make a video in which he provides his particular interpretation of immigration legislation, with particular respect to the United States immigration law. So, I mean, obviously a legal expert like Justin, probably won't get anything wrong about these details, so let's have a little listen to him and see what he's come up with this time. Or rather, coughed up this time.
I support immigration, but only legal immigration. I love immigrants, but I think they have to come here legally.
Holy fucking shit, that knob jockey actually managed to say something that makes sense for once. I for one am impressed that he has finally been red-pilled.
I think you were heading down the short road to disappointment, dude.
Why do Americans not understand sarcasm?
And while this can sound reasonable, it actually demonstrates a deep misunderstanding of immigration policy and why people immigrate.
Oh, Jesus.
First of all, legal immigration is not easy.
Yeah, because, woe betide that anybody faces any kind of difficulty or hardship in their lives, as opposed to just receiving everything they've ever wanted on demand and unquestionably. I'm not quite sure where he gets the, it's difficult to immigrate legally from. Generally, if you want to emigrate to one of the Western countries from, somewhere else, all you will have to do is fill in a form at the, and return it to the embassy of whichever country it is you're immigrating to. They will then do a background check on you to make sure that you aren't some sort of, wanted criminal that's trying to escape justice or anything like that. And then they make sure that you actually have the means to support yourself either via savings or skills which would help you get a job. They will also take into consideration things such as religious or ethnic persecution in the country that you come from, stuff like that. And then, provided that everything checks out, you will then be allowed into the country to live there. There are other options, obviously. You can obtain a work permit if you're just wanting to work there. You can obtain a residency permit if you're just wanting to live there for a time, things like that. If you wish to become a citizen of that country, then you have to go through the citizenship application process. It's not actually that hard when you look at it and sit and think about it. But then again, the bigotry of low expectations that people like Justin demonstrate towards anyone who's not white and foreign basically says that they're incapable of this level of thought and everything like that.
For many, it's not even possible. It's not like if you're a good person, you can just apply to immigrate and they'll let you come in.
No, as the master just explained, numerous factors are taken into account when you make an application to emigrate to another country. You don't simply get in by being good. You have to actually show that you have reason for going there, and that you are not simply moving in an attempt to get a whole bunch of stuff for nothing, without even the most minimal effort to put something back into the system you're going to be taking from.
I think people have this idea that immigrants look at their options.
They certainly do. For example, you don't see many people emigrating to Somalia, based on its top-notch public health, police, and social benefits system.
Immigrating with documents or immigrating without documents?
Well, no, because immigrating without documents is called illegal immigration, and thus being illegal, it is actually a criminal offence. So when you go, I think I'm going to cross the border from Mexico into the United States by jumping over a fence, that means you are a criminal. Because if you do that, jumping over the fence from the United States into Mexico, they treat you as a criminal. Because you are.
And just go, I guess I'm eligible for legal immigration, but that's annoying and hard. It'd be so much easier to just immigrate illegally.
Well, duh. illegally crossing the border from one country to another with the intention of staying there is is a lot easier than filling in a bunch of forms and providing information to foreign government, to ask permission to go there. But in the long run, it works out a lot easier to do that than basically have to take low-paying crap jobs all the time so that you can get paid cash in hand or whatever, so that you don't end up with immigration services pounding on your door at whatever time in the morning to drag you out into the street in handcuffs and, then send you back to where you came from. Call me old-fashioned, but I prefer not to be dragged out of my bed by burly police officers in the early hours of the morning. But that's just me. I mean, I'm not a masochist, so, I quite like to get a good night's sleep now and again.
But that couldn't be farther from the truth. Immigrating without documents is extremely dangerous, and people have no guarantee of their safety during their journey or even once they're in the US.
Exactly. For the sake of filling in some forms, providing information and undergoing a background check, people will pay gangs large amounts of money to smuggle them in, die of thirst or hunger, get murdered by other prospective illegals, drown in rivers, be attacked by animals, or get shot by border guards. All because they want access to stuff that they wouldn't necessarily have where they came from. Then once their journey is complete, they run the continual risk of being discovered and deported by authorities, extorted for payments from criminals to look the other way, live in slum conditions in the ghetto. Don't know about you, but if I had the choice between that, or filling out some forms, I'd grab a pen and start writing.
Since they'll be afraid to go to the police. The decision to immigrate without documents is not one that is made lightly. It's a huge decision with a lot of risks. It's not an easier path by any means. But for some people, it can be the only path.
Yes, for example, people with criminal records, low-skilled workers, people with no means to support themselves, and people whose skills are not terribly useful to the community or country they intend to settle in. All of these are valid reasons to be refused residence in a country, although in some places, simply turning up with wads of cash ensures immediate permission to enter, and no questions asked. Usually, these are the same countries that people would prefer to leave, for the same reasons that attract unsavory types to go there. But you try emigrating to one of them without money and you can be sure that your body will be found in a ditch somewhere within a month.
Many wonderful people are not eligible for immigrant visas. The kinds of visas the US issues are very narrow and meant to only take in a certain kind of person.
Yeah, the kind of person that is actually going to be useful to the the country that they are planning on entering, and not people who are just going there because they want to leech off social benefit systems and take advantage of numerous social schemes and things like that.
Generally wealthy people, like people who can afford to get a high-level education that gets them an employer-sponsored visa, or people...
Oh, come off it. We both know that that's a load of bullshit. They take people in who aren't wealthy all the fucking time. Yeah, both Britain and the US and Canada and Australia take people in who aren't exactly fucking millionaires and stuff like that. So to say that just shows the complete level of disingenuous bullshit that goes through your fucking brain, you dumb cunt.
People who can afford to buy a $1 million EB-5 visa.
Well, yeah, because if you can afford to invest $1 million in an American business, then that means that you quite clearly have the means to support yourself while living in the United States. And it's quite surprising that Justin here doesn't understand that the country which is the shining example of the capitalist system would actually allow this to happen. Now, while other corrupt countries will allow people in on a no questions asked basis when they hand over money, that money is usually handed directly to a government official who then just basically opens the doors and says welcome in. So it's not the same thing before anybody starts.
And some might choose to immigrate without documents because it's faster and they don't have time to wait.
So, laziness then. Yeah, because that's a really, really desirable skill in immigrants, isn't it? The ability to not do anything and just fucking take the easy way out all the time.
Legal immigration is often a years-long process. It's incredibly difficult and convoluted. It includes hurdles that not everyone can get over, and there's no guarantee of a visa at the end of it.
Well, no. You see, for the 100th fucking time, first world countries don't want to be flooded with shit from the third world, as unskilled or criminal elements will be a detriment to the country they emigrate to, causing drains on the public health, social security, social housing and criminal justice systems, to the tune of billions of dollars, all while putting absolutely fuck all into it. I would love to know how many of these failed immigrants that Justin would be willing to take personal and financial responsibility for, but I have the funny feeling that the number would be between 0 and none, because doing so would require him to actually take responsibility for something for once in his miserable fucking life.
You might end up spending years working towards a visa that you're ultimately denied. If someone has to leave their country right now for whatever reason, they don't have years to wait around.
Well, no, Justin. There are many reasons why people would want to leave their countries quickly. For example, if there is a war on and the person or the person in their family faces imminent threat of death, for example, like in the Middle East at the moment, where Daesh are going around killing Muslims who don't 100% subscribe to their own particular interpretation of Islam, then yes, refugee status would be granted to them, but that's not the same as immigration. You seem to be conflating the two here and conveniently forgetting that there is a difference between a refugee and an immigrant. If you are under some kind of persecution or something like that, then yes, you can be given immigrant status, provided, of course, that you can demonstrate that you have been under some kind of persecution and there is a threat to your life. So to say that if you work towards a visa for years and then get denied it, you get denied it for a reason, usually because either the reasons you are giving are either not credible or unsubstantiated, or that, basically you're just lying. See, this is one of the things that's happened with Europe. We've been flooded, the so-called migrant crisis has flooded Europe with Islamic, so quote-unquote refugees, when in fact they are not refugees. Many of them, in fact the majority of them, don't actually come from war zones. For example, Pakistan and Tunisia and Morocco are not war zones. Call them what they should be called. They are economic migrants. They have basically come from the Middle East or from Muslim countries to the European countries, basically because they want to take advantage of the public health and public benefit systems. The United States certainly would not allow any of these economic migrants in under any circumstances, although when it started happening, there was a lot of virtue signalling going off saying that we should accept X amount of people. And while it was agreed that refugees would be accepted, economic migrants most certainly were not accepted, except in places like Germany that just basically opened the doors and said anybody was allowed in, and look what a fucking shitstorm that's caused.
Their safety is threatened or they're starving, they can't just wait years for a visa to be approved. They might not make it that long. And on top of that, our system for legal immigration is not an objective reality devoid of any sort of biases. It's a system made by people, their biases included. And historically, it's been incredibly racist.
Yes, historically racist, but not so much anymore. You can't undo mistakes of the past by making mistakes in the present. In addition, why is it that the Western countries are always chosen as the places to be for immigration? Oh wait, that's right. Because Western and westernized countries aren't festering shitholes ruled over by corrupt theocratic, socialist or communist governments, and generally abide by rule of law, so that your chances of being murdered, raped, or dying from starvation, diarrhea, measles or in childbirth, are so low you might actually be able to live to retirement age and draw a state-funded pension. But yet it's brain-dead fuckwits like Justin here that insist that the West is evil, racially and religiously prejudiced, and withhold basic human rights from anyone and everyone that happens to live here. Funny that, isn't it? I wonder when Justin will be emigrating to Saudi Arabia. I'm sure the peaceful Muslims will love him there, right before they chuck him off a tall building for being a faggot.
The 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act barred virtually all immigration from China.
Events of the past cannot be undone in the present. That piece of legislation no longer applies anyway. Therefore, irrelevant.
Then the 1907 Gentlemen's Agreement did a similar thing for immigration from Japan.
Again, irrelevant, unless you happen to have access to a time machine, and don't mind the possibility of causing a temporal paradox by interfering with the past.
The 1917 Asiatic Barred Zone Act expanded this ban to other Asian and Middle Eastern countries.
Look, I know that in your mind you think you are providing examples of how racist government policies are hampering immigration procedures, but you're not. What you're doing is reeling off a load of old pieces of extant legislation that have no bearing whatsoever in the modern day. For fuck's sakes, Justin, your levels of reality disconnect are so high I'm actually worried that you need to be taken in for psychiatric care. As someone who is obviously as mentally unstable as you presents a serious danger to both yourself and others. They might also be able to help you with that crack problem you look like you're suffering from.
The Immigration Act of 1924 brought all of this together and barred immigration from most Asian countries.
Oh, for Christ's sakes, Master, may I have permission to put this planet out of its misery?
Yeah, go on then.
Nice one. Suck on this, you fucking dumbasses.
Oh fuck. Why do I never get to cause an apocalypse?
Well, let's be fair, he's earned it this time round. He's done a lot of the work there for me, which is okay, because I weren't feeling too good anyway. But your time will come, don't worry about it. So anyways, I think we're going to leave off there so that I can recreate the planet again, ready for next time. Justin basically goes on to complain about that there's no open borders, and the changes to legislation have basically rendered all the points he's made thus far completely moot. And then goes on to complain about some other fucking stuff, you know, like about equality of outcome and shit like that. And fucking know it's the usual shit that he spurts. I'm surprised he's managed to fucking keep talking without, you know, fucking making his, you know, well, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point his brain hasn't liquefied and run down his fucking nose big enough. Ugh. Anyways, thank you for watching. My social contact details are up on screen. I will put a link to the full video down at the bottom, and you know, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and if you feel particularly generous, feel free to donate to my PayPal. Like I say, any donations are received with thanks and will be put towards stuff, I don't know, mostly living expenses at the moment. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.